Hello, everyone's Forest Focus. Nottingham Forest make it 3 wins in 4 Premier League games with victory at Wolves last night. Can they make it another 3 points at Everton? Will they have to play much better to get those points? Joining me to discuss all that and more. First of all, great to welcome former Reds striker and current Reds legend, fumbling my words, Garry Birtles. How are you doing?
Good morning. Yeah, very good, thanks.
Good to have you with us. Paul Morley, how are you today?
Good, yeah, very well. Feeling very satisfied after last night's result, and looking forward to being on with Garry and marveling at his wallpaper.
Oh, it's brilliant! It's brilliant. Right.
That's my shirt, but it's
not mine. Let's talk a bit more about last night then. Paul, you kick us off because I think you and I don't know how differently we see the game, but give us your general thoughts and then we'll branch out from there.
Well, look, we won the game, right? End of. I mean, look, I think a lot of talk in the lead up to last night was kind of all, let's not sort of presume too much. Wolves, okay, they're not had a very good start to the season, but they played okay at Villa, and it might be somewhere we're going to have to go and grind it out, and we kind of went and did that. And I watched your post-match show of what I've caught up with this morning. The sort of sentiment was a bit doom and gloom, and it's kind of, well, hang on a second, we wanted us to go there and grind it out, and that's exactly what we did. So we should be kind of coming away from that feeling pretty good. And I think, I'm sure Garry will testify this, but no one's got, you don't have a divine right to win a football match. You've got to go there and be better than the opposition. And I think for the most part we did that last night. I mean, yes, they're not great, but we were better than them. I think in every single stat, if you look at the game, whether it be possession, whether it be territory, whether it be chances, we outplayed them. And obviously the one stat that matters, we scored and they didn't. So, yeah, look, sometimes you've got to win ugly. And I thought we did that last night. I thought we should, put that in the kit bag, walk away and be pleased with that and move on to the next one.
I think my thing about last night, watching it live at the time, was I thought Wolves were going to be much better than they were, having played well against Villa. And I thought it would have been absolutely criminal if we didn't win the game. And I was watching it unfold, and we were really comfortable in the match. My worry was they were going to score first, and it was going to be West Ham at home all over again. And Arias had that chance early in the second half. And that was my fear, was that we were going to miss the most goals and opportunity to cash in against generally an absolutely horrific team. So that was my worry watching it. Obviously, once we got the goal, I thought we played well, managed the game, very comfortable. But it's just nervous from a fan point of view, watching a game like that, thinking, please don't screw this up. So that was my worry about last night. How did you view it from the ex-player's point of view, Garry?
Paul's hit the nail on the head. You've got to win ugly sometimes. You have to bounce back from the Brighton result. And we did that without a doubt. No, it wasn't brilliant, but, it says 1-0 on the score sheet. There's no pictures, 1-0. And it takes you a little bit further up the league. And you look at the results. You mentioned how Villa played against Wolves and how Wolves did well against Villa. And then Villa go to Brighton last night and win after Brighton beat us. We thought, but I think we've got to start with the Brighton game a little bit, because I was there. I was the guest on the day. We started awfully in that game, you have to say. But second half, we could have got something out of that game without a doubt. 2 awful goals to give away just before half-time. And then what Morata was doing, I just don't know. But, we had so much possession in good areas. I think the quality let us down. The final delivery against Brighton could have been a lot better from wide areas. But I think Omari Hutchinson now is saying, right, leave me out at your peril. Because, if we get the ball out. And it was interesting. I listened to his interview after the game last night. And he was saying what I was saying during the game. We're having too many touches maybe on the ball. We don't need those many touches. And I was watching we play out from the back, and I'm a stickler for little points. And about half a dozen times, an easy pass was just behind the man instead of in front of him. And that gives the opposition time to close down. And I just think at times, you're looking at Sangare 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. If there's something on, pass it, play it, see it, play it. You don't need all those touches. You don't need to do anything on the ball apart from, get it to your teammate quickly if you can. And I would, let's put it in perspective. When Ange was in charge, we were all in despair. Sean's taken over, and look what's happened in a short space of time. You've got to say that it's a short space of time. Things are working. Things will go a little bit awry. They're bound to a little bit. The players are still learning, what the management team wants from them. The training will be different. But what we're seeing is just a million miles away from what we were seeing before. We were worried, I think, as a group of supporters that things were getting a little bit, bad down at the bottom. And if he didn't go, it could get a lot worse. And sometimes you have to be decisive. And the owner was very decisive in what he did there. And a lot of pundits, I said this at the weekend, we're coming out saying, what a bad decision this. You're not hearing them so much now, are you? These same pundits after, the appointment of Sean and, his backroom staff. The way forward is good. It's difficult because of Europe. The Malmo game was, a cracker. Before that, you look at that, three goals. And then we lose to Brighton. All of a sudden, there are people maybe doubting a little bit. Don't doubt. That was a difficult game last night after the Brighton game. We came through it. We won the game. Sets us up for Everton, who, to be fair, are playing well at the moment. So it's not going to be an easy game there.
No. Even in defeat to Brighton, I took a lot from it. I actually came away from the Brighton feeling in the same sort of mood as I did against Wolves, because we got the win against Wolves. We didn't play well. I thought we played well against Brighton and didn't win. But overall, we're doing very well, which leads nicely into this table. A couple of tables that Paul sent over just beforehand. Is this the right table, Paul? Oh yeah, that's just. Is this the table under Dyche since he came in?
Yeah. So that's the league table since Dyche took charge, which there's loads of different. It's only 6 games, right? So we shouldn't sort of read a whole lot into it. But I guess the headline stat is there that only Villa, Arsenal, and City have picked up more points in the league than we have since Dyche came in. So as to what Gary was saying before, things are working, they're getting better, and ultimately, it's a results business, right? So 3 wins in 6 games. And if we carry on anywhere near like that, performance return, points return per every 6 games between now and the end of the season, will be very, very comfortably in mid-table. So, it's just a bit of context really around the whole piece. I think it's it's kind of what we all knew, and we get the sense that things have turned around. But it's just nice to see it, when you lay it out in that format that we've more than holding our own in the last few games, and hopefully that look at Everton are right next to us. They've got exactly the same same results over the last 6 games than we have: 3 wins, 1 draw, and 2 defeats. So, should be a good game on Saturday.
Yeah, just for people who are listening or watching, we're 7th, as Paul says. Only Arsenal, Villa, and City have taken more points than our 10 from 6 games. Some interesting teams down there. I know. Just touching on last night's results.
Yeah,
sorry,
Matt,
Gareth.
Leeds last night. Nobody saw that coming. We beat Leeds 3-1, and they go and beat Chelsea 3. And Sunderland go to Liverpool and get a point. Sunderland are just doing what we did last season, more carbon copy, more or less, of what's we achieved last season, which is great to see. But yeah, it's a strange old table this season so far, and I don't think anybody expected to see Wolves down there. The teams that come up are expected to struggle a little bit. 2 out of the 3 are struggling, but that result for Leeds could just turn their season around a little bit and give them the confidence to move out of trouble. The West Ham game it's tonight against Man United, isn't it? Yeah. So see how that goes. If West Ham win, then the pressure escalates for the teams above. But yeah, it's great to be out of the bottom 3, and that can only give confidence. And in that, without key players, we've lost Chris Wood, we've lost Aina, we've lost Douglas Luiz. These are key players, who would probably be in the team if they were fit. So we've got all that to come back. We've got the Utrecht game coming up. But I think the league is paramount at the moment. Set up for Everton to win that game, then it's a free hit going to Amsterdam. It really is.
Just mentioning missing players last night, as Gary reminds me, Dylan Bakwa played last night actually for the B team. I just didn't see that until this morning. He got an hour in, which is really good progress and a good sign, because we'll discuss wingers in more detail shortly, but obviously it's good to have him back as an option soon for the first team, hopefully. Just put up Paul's other table just quickly. Talk us through this one, Paul, for people who are listening and watching.
Yeah, so this is the Premier League calendar year table for 2025. So the reason I thought this one might be a bit more, relevant to talk about is actually what, where are we at as a team with these players, and what should our expectations be, for this season and for the rest of this season. And for those listening, Forest are 12th out of the 20 teams over the course of the year. Obviously at the bottom, I've sort of bundled together obviously some of the relegated teams and the promoted teams, and sort of match their records up to see where they are. So yeah, 12th, which I think is, if you think back to our pre-season predictions that we all did, I think it will sort of range between probably 10th and 14th. So it kind of, is a reflection, really, I think, of where we are. The brilliant run that we had under Nuno last year, a lot of those points were gathered in the first half of last season. As we know, it slowed down a bit and ground to a bit of a halt towards the end of last season. Obviously, we've had a fairly difficult start this season, but now putting things together. So, but even there, you've got the likes of Man U and Tottenham, two big clubs who, will we finish above those two clubs this season? Probably Man United, you would think that feels like a stretch, but Tottenham obviously not having a great time of it. You'd probably expect those two to be above us by the end of the season. But Bournemouth are in a sticky run now. They're 11th on that table. So, yeah, I guess just for context, it shows that over the course of this year, as we're coming towards the end of the year, we've been pretty much a mid-table team during the course of 2025. And I think that's probably what feels about right in terms of what to expect between now and the end of this season.
Can I say,
go, Gary, go.
Account what's happened this season. We've had three managers with three different methods of doing things. Players will get frazzled a little bit because they were just used to what Nuno did, then totally opposite what Ange Postecoglou did, and then they're getting Sean, who's stabilising things. Three managers in a season, and we're only in December. That takes a lot to overcome as a player in your own mindset, because you're thinking, this training's okay, I know what to expect from Nuno, because we had it all last season. Then Ange comes in, totally different way of doing things. Then he goes, and then Sean comes in, and it's a difficult thing. I'm not defending players for not being, but in that respect, that is difficult when you've got three different methods, three different mindsets from managers, how they train, how they play, what they want from you. And I think the players are getting used to that now under Sean, and you can see the difference. And it's only a short space of time that's been happening. And you've got to give the players, the opportunity to keep building, to keep growing under Sean, what he wants them to do. And what he wants them to do is just express themselves as they can, as individuals within that team ethic. And I think you're seeing that at the moment. There's no real, people not standing out. I mean, Savona's come in and, how well's he done? I think, against Brighton, I think first 15 minutes, both our fullbacks looked a little bit frazzled. Brighton were getting down the flanks quite easily, but we shut that avenue up second half. And yeah, it's not always easy. It's like anybody in any job. If you lose somebody you're used to working with, and then somebody else comes in an office even or whatever, and they've got a totally different way of doing things, it's not always easy to respond straight away. So, give the players, the benefit of the doubt, and, see that the progress is very positive.
We'll talk more. Gary makes great points there. I totally agree. We'll talk more in detail about the Everton game and team selection, and that will branch back into instance in last night's game around Hutchinson and Jesus and all that. Obviously, just for that, a word for the Trent Navigation. Rick Parfitt Jr.'s Christmas gig is coming up soon. So here's a quick reminder of how you get tickets for that. Sunday, the 21st of December at the Trent Nav, tickets on gigantic.com for that one with Rick Parfitt Jr. They're always really good and really successful ones to do. Check that out. Let's turn our attention to Everton, Paul, and then we'll branch back intermittently to Wolves, I'm sure. How are you feeling about this game? Obviously, they're a good side. As Gary said, their form is a little inconsistent. I think they've, last 6, I think they've won 3, drawn 1, lost 2. The 2 they lost, they got pretty hammered, actually, surprisingly, by Spurs and Newcastle at home. So how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I think one thing I will say is that we've got a manager who will know what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, right? So that should stand us in pretty good stead for going there and knowing what to expect. In terms of their form, obviously they've had 2 really good away results at Bournemouth and Man U, although funny enough, Bournemouth have fallen off a bit of a cliff since they beat us, haven't they? But still, to go down there and win, good result for them. So last weekend, was it 4-1 they lost at home to Newcastle? So I guess that shows you that, there are frailties within their team that can be exploited. I guess what do I expect from the game? I expect probably a closely fought encounter. As I say, Dyche will know exactly what to expect. So I expect us to be set up to deal with whatever threats that they bring. I think if you offered me a point right now, I'd take that as a decent result away from home. Obviously, we've not been to that stadium before, so that'll be a new experience for everyone that's going, both players and fans alike. So it'll be interesting to see how we cope in that environment. I'm sure it'll be pretty raucous as they're in that new stadium, and obviously I guess that's carrying over, particularly with the result they had on the midweek as well. That their fans will be up for it. So yeah, it'll be a tough place to go, but I think we should acquit ourselves well, and hopefully it'll be a close game which we can get a positive result from.
How much do you make of the Dyche sort of factor, Gary, that he'll know them well? Everton fans were really wanting to beat him because they were pretty sour on him by the end. Is that a factor in the game or not?
It won't be. I don't think people will say it is. Sean will deny it, quite rightly as well. It's another game. I just hope we get a decent VAR operative after the where those 3 decisions were an absolute disgrace. Before Ashley Young, God dear me. I mean that last night, going back to VAR, what was all that about? Everybody, Forest supporters would say that should be disallowed. He was a bit lazy. He should have come out, just stood there. But for it to take that long was just an absolute joke. Don Goodman was listening to that, and Daniel Mann, the commentators, were saying, "What is going on?" Everybody can see straight away that shouldn't be given. We all wanted it to be given, but what were they? Yeah. Anyway, going there. Jack Grealish, another one who's found a new lease of life under a different manager, going somewhere else, and he's fighting his way back into the England squad. So you've got those sort of things to contend with, but we've got the players in our team at the moment who can match and go beyond that. I think at the moment, so you've got to go there with confidence. Your pressure's off you after your home result against Brighton. We always want the City ground to be a fortress. We've lost we got beat by Brighton. We got beat by West Ham. We've lost with Sunderland beat us. So it's not been a good home start to our season. That's got to change, obviously, because that's where your bread and butter is, winning your home games and then picking up points on the road. And Sean will tell these players that it won't be about Sean, it'll be about the team, about going to that new stadium, winning a football match, or like Paul says, getting a point. That would be paramount. Just don't lose the game.
Before we go to teams, I'll just look at the teams, the fixtures for the teams around us, just out of curiosity. It looks like another weekend where if we can get something, you would hope that we put more distance on the teams below us. Newcastle at home to Burnley, Leeds are at home to Liverpool, which could be anything at the moment. Brighton are at home to West Ham, and Wolves at home to Man United. Not far off being able to forget about Wolves at the moment, certainly. Right, let's have a look at team selection. Myself and Paul have done some teams. Gary can tell us where we're wrong. Let's click on this one. I don't know whose this is. Okay, this is mine. It's basically unchanged, so apart from one. Sel, Savona, Milenkovic, Murillo should hopefully be back. I know Dyche was pretty confident he would be, and he missed this one. But Morato, I thought, came in and did fine. But Murillo hopefully returns. Sangare and Anderson, Hutchinson. Say again, Gary.
The goal, he didn't do fine.
No, against Wolves, he did fine. I mean, he was terrible against Brighton. Yeah.
Yeah, but that could have been a different story had we not, conceded better goals as we did. Anyway, that's gone. You can't do anything about that.
No.
I'm happy. I'm not sure about Odoi at the moment. I don't think he's doing enough maybe to keep his place over Hudson-Odoi. But Hutchinson, I mean, every time he gets the ball, you're off your seat a little bit because he's going to have a go. He's not going to, check inside. And I think that's the problem with Odoi. Maybe Hudson-Odoi the same. They when they get one-on-one, you don't think they're going to maybe just do what Hutchinson could do. He's got that little bit more acceleration, that little bit more, guile in the final third. Although, I think his quality could have been better against Brighton. But you can't leave him out at the moment. You've got to keep him in there because he will keep getting in those positions and he will keep delivering. And he will learn. He reminds me a bit of Brennan Johnson when he was at Forest. He got in great positions and he wasn't delivering the quality. But Brennan learned very quickly, and the quality he then provided for Chris Wood, was absolutely superb from wide areas, and that will happen.
Just rounding off the team, Hutchinson, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi for Odoi would be my change, and then Igor Jesus up front. What do you just? We'll come to your team in a sec, Paul. But is Odoi has he obviously got to drop out for you based on his recent form or not?
I think the thing with him since he came in right at the beginning, he's shown moments, hasn't he, of what he can do. I mean, we saw that in the first couple of games with the goal and the assist, and then I think the issue I have with him, he hasn't really put in back-to-back performances. I think probably his best performance off the top of my head was against Porto in the Europa League, where he had a pretty decent game, and a lot of that was good work defensively and helping out, tracking back and getting the ball up the field when we needed to. When we were, I think we put 1-0. There's a number of times where he sort of came away with the ball down the wing, won a foul, that sort of thing. So yeah, look, he hasn't quite. I think. Mark's stats that he went through in the post-match last night in terms of Hutchinson compared to Odoi in the minutes that he's had, and I think it was something like Hutchinson's played a third of the minutes than Odoi, but he's produced more crosses, more shots, more this, more that. So that in itself probably tells you the story that Odoi hasn't quite hit the straps yet. And for me, I'd make that change. I'd bring Hudson-Odoi in. I think if you go back to last night in particular. There was obviously a couple of moments. There's one early on where he sort of beat his man, didn't he, Odoi, and then he took a really heavy touch and wasted that opportunity. There was the header that Gary referenced earlier that, all he needs to do is get something on that, I think, and it's in the back of the net. And then the offside, I think I sort of feel a little bit for him with the offside thing, because it feels like that's a role that he's been given specifically, given that it's happened a couple of times now. That he's in that position in front of the keeper. It feels like he's being told to go there. Now, could he be a little bit more alive, as Gary said, and come out a bit quicker, possibly? But I think there's an element of him doing what he's been told to do and sort of interfering with the goalkeeper. So maybe that's something we have to have a bit of a rethink about after getting caught out last night with the offside. But yeah, just going back to your question, I think as you'll see when I bring my team up, it's largely the same as yours. And I'd make that change with Hudson-Odoi coming in for Odoi for this game.
I think you've got to give Sean credit last night for being as brave as he was really with playing. What we played with Alanga last season, Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, playing Hutchinson and Odoi. I think it was a bright, brave start. It told people, right, we're going to be on the front foot here. We're going to go and win this game. And, that's good to see as well.
Good goal. We haven't touched on the goal last night because now I was waiting till we brought the team up with Igor Jesus up front. Good striker's goal, Gary, wasn't it? Getting in there where it hurts.
I said that last night. I said that I was sat here watching. I said that's a great striker's goal, without a doubt. It's great to see him do it. And the problem, I think we've got to give them cut them a bit of slack here. The players who've come in from abroad, we all know how difficult the Premier League is. How good you are. We've seen the great players come across and struggle in the first season, because it's so hectic. The season's hectic. The pace is hectic. And, it's not always easy to adapt straight away. So you've got to give, the benefit of the doubt to the players who've come in, who are just starting to, show signs that they're getting used to the Premier League. And, that's got to be a great sign, because, we've got you look at the team, the spine of that team, You know, you've got Milenkovic, Murillo, you've got Sells, you've got Gibbs-White, Anderson, and then, you know, up front, you know, Jesus has been asked to come in and play up there. And that's the most difficult place to play in modern football because of lack of touches, lack of involvement for strikers in the modern game. And you know, you're following Chris Wood, who's been, you know, phenomenal for us. So, you know, it's good to see those players getting up to speed with the Premier League and what it brings with Europe. So, yeah, it can only be good going forward.
There's 24 games left in the league, Gary. How many goals do you think Jesus has got in him? And does it just depend more on service than anything else with a player like him?
You know, I was blessed with Robertson and O'Neill, you know, in wide areas, and Anderson, who came forward and delivered. We had Ian Bowyer, who scored goals. I'm just saying about my generation, it is different. You know, strikers were more involved then. I think it is changing again. You're looking at some of the teams now. You look at Ollie Watkins last night. You know, the long ball is being played again. People are just changing their way of thinking, I think, in the Premier League. Instead of playing out boringly from the back, you know, it still goes on a little bit, but I think the mood is changing, and it's good to see that. You can mix it up. You can do both. And when you do both, you look dangerous. So, yeah, it's. I'm looking forward to the end of the rest of the season, because, you know, we've got, if you get a stable back four, which we have had, you know, Nico Williams, Savono, you know, have done well. The two centre halves, you know, complement each other so well. It's when the injury problems come in, and, you know, replacements come in, and they've not had match time, it becomes difficult because you're not up to speed straight away. You try to be, but it's not easy.
I think if Jesus can get to 10 Premier League goals, Paul, that's a successful season, I would say. You know, with the amount of games left and his style of play, and I don't think we're ever going to be prolific. I know we've got a 3-3 and, you know, in a sequence, but if he can get 10 Premier League goals, I think we can count his first season as a good, solid success, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you think back to it, only probably even a couple of weeks ago, we were all saying that you know, after the international break, if Chris Wood's fit, he comes straight back in. I'm not so sure he does now. I think Jesus has done enough in the last couple of weeks to make that shirt his own, until he, you know, has a situation where whether he gets injured or whether he, you know, has a dip in form. But certainly at the minute he's doing enough to keep that shirt. I thought last night there was 2 or 3 or 4 occasions where he was backing into his centre back and you know, from a long ball forward or a longish ball forward and protecting it well and holding it up well, which in those sorts of games away from home you're going to need that. And if you think about, you know, Everton on Saturday, you know, their centre halves are probably among the most physically you know, strong in the league, so he's going to need to do, you know, a lot more of that, which is going to be, you know, you think probably quite a punishing game for him on Saturday. He's going to be in a physical battle. So, you know, maybe it's a game where he doesn't get the full 90 just because of the physical nature of what he's going to come up against. But that's where we need the squad. You know, that's why we bought the players we bought. It'd be a shame that we won't be able to call on a Taiwo for 30 minutes or 20 minutes on Saturday. But we'll have to see if Jesus lasts the 90 or whether Callum Wendo can come on and you know, take up that mantle if Jesus does need to come off on Saturday. But yeah, thought he did well last night, and I think if he gets to 10 goals, that'll be a really good return.
Yeah, I always quite like to see Callum Wendo last night. I thought it might have suited him against Wolves. I'm not sure it does against Everton. Interesting one. Just quickly before we move on, Gary, if Chris Wood is back in match fit in, say, 3 weeks, if Jesus is still playing to this level, who would you be backing now?
If he's still playing at this level and he's scoring goals, then it'll be difficult to leave him out. And, you know, Chris has had quite a bit of time out now. You've got to obviously go with, you know, his age as well. You've got to give him the right space, to the right amount of time to recover to what he needs to recover to. And it's always easy to bring people back too soon. Sorry. And you don't want to do that, so you have a relapse and they get injured very. So you got to manage really well, and Sean can do that and his backroom stuff without a doubt. I mean, you got Wone and Stone, you know, who've been at the highest level as well, so they know all about fitness levels and what's needed to come back in as a player when you've been out for a while. But it's great to have that option. I keep every time the team sheet comes up, I look on the bench first to see, you know, has Chris come back? Has Aina come back? Douglas Luiz, and at the moment, they haven't, but they will do, and that'll make us so much stronger when they do.
Just one more as well. I think this is Sangare's last game before AFCON. If it's not, he's got 2 left. Just before, does he leave a hole in the team, Paul, or would you? And who would you pick, Yates or Dominguez, when he's gone?
That's a good question. I mean, I think he is playing well at the minute. I thought he had a decent game last night for the time that he was on the field. He broke up play whenever he was needed to. I think, as Garry said, maybe could have been a little bit more quicker to move the ball, but all in all, I thought he was solid. Did the job that you want him to, and particularly in an away game. I think we will miss him. I guess he obviously brought Yates on for him last night. He's done that for the last couple of games, so I think maybe it might be a bit of a horses for courses thing, depending on obviously who we're playing against, as to which way Sean Dyche goes in terms of filling that gap. But I think with the fact that Yates and Dominguez are both getting regular minutes, should mean that whichever one it is that comes in when Sangare does go away should be able to slot in fairly seamlessly. It's not like someone's coming out from the cold and needs a few games to get up to speed. So, I think that's a positive that we have to think about, that when he is gone, whoever steps in should be ready to go and step up to fill the gap.
Just looking at an article online just now while Paul was talking, it looks like from this BBC article that Sangare should be available to face Spurs, but I'll do more research on that in time. Right, Paul, your team. Garry has said no way you can leave Hutchinson out, so good luck justifying this. You've got Hutchinson out, Dominguez in, Hudson-Odoi in as well. You're playing Dominguez because of Jack Grealish, I guess. So I'll let you justify, and then Garry can lay into it.
Yeah, no, you may well give me pelters. And look, I kind of, I concur with everything Gary's saying. I guess it just depends on how we want to approach this game. I think, again, if we come back to prior to Wolves, I think a lot of the chat was, and maybe I'm seduced by this, is that Hutchinson Wolves was a Hutchinson game, and Everton was perhaps less of a Hutchinson game. So if you're going to start him, it was going to be the Wolves game that you're going to do that. Obviously, like I say, I think he had an okay game last night. He got into a lot of positions. He delivered quite a few crosses. Some were great, some were not. Obviously, he delivered the telling cross, which made the difference in the end. So if he is left out, he can feel very hard done by. But I say leave him out. It's a squad game. Even if we start like this, and if he didn't start, I would certainly be giving him 30-35 minutes off the bench to make an impact, as he has done in the games that we've seen up until this point. Yeah, as you say, I just think away from home with Grealish in the form that he's in, and we know that Savona can be a little bit vulnerable, and he's shown that in moments where when the winger gets at him, he doesn't look the securest fullback. So I just thought if Dominguez is in along that side, he can sort of help double up, and we can sort of nullify that threat that they bring down that side with Grealish. I guess it depends on the approach you want to go in the game. If you want to go in the game and take it to them, then I think Hutchinson's at the right place, the right one to start with. If you want to just make sure you keep it tight and get to half time at 0-0, or nick a goal, get to half time in a good space to be able to then go and attack the game in the second half against tired fullbacks, then you might go this way. To be honest, whichever way it is, I wouldn't have an issue with it. I just think there's a case for starting Dominguez over Hutchinson in this game, but totally concur with Gary's opinion as to why you wouldn't leave him out.
Yeah, they might disagree. I mean, I'm sure David Moyes would rather have Dominguez in than Omari Hutchinson.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Why can't we make Grealish think, "Oh, I've got to get back and help because Hutchinson's causing all sorts of problems for my defenders"? Have that mindset rather than we're worrying about Grealish. We know what a good player, but Hutchinson can cause so many problems with his pace. With his, he'll only get better as he's only a young lad. He'll only get better with his delivery when he starts thinking, well, that wasn't particularly good. I've got to do better. And if you learn from your previous one not being so good, which, he is doing. I mean, the cross for the goal was perfect. It really was. And if he can keep doing that, he's a striker's dream. Because that 9 times out of 10, he's going to get the ball in the box. And you've got an opportunity as a striker to score. So it'd be interesting to see that. But I'm sure David Moyes would rather have Dominguez than Hutchinson.
So what do you think, Garry, about this principle of playing Dominguez on a wing, even in different games? Because obviously it works so well at Anfield. Is it horses for courses, or would you always rather see 2 wingers?
I because of last season, with Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, the trouble it was causing defences was evident to see all season. So, and last night, I've already mentioned how I think Sean was brave to go with the two. It was Wolves, but they're still a Premier League team. And, it could have been a dangerous one because of how they played against Villa. We won 1-0. That's all you have to do. Win ugly, clean sheet, superb. So he'll be unlucky if he's left. But he can make an impact. But you don't want somebody coming on making an impact if you're 2-0 down or something. You want the impact there to maybe put your team one up or whatever. So it's a difficult one. I understand Paul's view there without a doubt. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see. A bit worried about Morgan Gibbs-White at the moment.
I was just going to say, that was my last thing to say. He looks like he's struggling fitness-wise.
Seems to be struggling. People keep mentioning this back. I know how backs, because I had a spinal fusion in the end in 1984, and backs are, shocking because I didn't know what was going on. I just knew I was in agony. I had to have 2 epidurals to keep playing, and eventually was told if I'd carried on for another 2 months, I'd have been in the wheelchair for the rest of my life because, the spine was in that bad a state. So I know how bad backs can get, and it is a worry, and you've got to manage it. And I'm sure the backroom staff are keeping a very close eye on it. And as a player, you can only tell the backroom staff, the physios, how you're feeling. And obviously, they've got the facilities to get it checked out. Yeah, because you don't want to lose Morgan without a doubt.
No, I did notice that when he came off last night, and again, he looked like he was really struggling. So I wouldn't mind. I guess we've got Europe coming up if you can get him through this game and then leave him out against Utrecht. But yeah, it was certainly notable. But he did have a decent game. Just looking on here, this is from Twitter. Callum Costello posted this. Most chances created, made the most tackles, and won the most duels against Wolves. So he did contribute, but he certainly, I think Gary's right to point that out. Right, let's take another word of thanks for a sponsor, and then we shall wrap things up. Thanks very much. Excuse me. To Home Move Estate Agents. Appreciate the support from those guys, and Ben Sales. If you're watching on screen, you will see a property of the week. This is in Carlton, Mays Avenue, Carlton. Guide price £230,000. It's 3-bed, 1-bath, semi-detached. And according to Ben, it's a true cornerstone of comfort and style, and now available to open market. Garage converted to extend the kitchen. Conservatory to a lovely south-facing lawn to drink your morning coffee. Off-street parking and Band B council tax. So click on the link in the description to check that out. That's on YouTube and audio, and to see the full range of properties that they have on offer. That was relatively smooth for me. I didn't fumble my words, and I didn't have to try and make myself talk for 90 seconds because I trimmed the video down this morning. So yeah, thanks to Ben and those guys. Right, Paul, anything you want to add on this game? Any final thoughts to wrap things up today?
Just before we get on to that, just say Joe Root's just got his first 100 in Australia. I'm just
good on him.
On the side of the screen, so
fair play.
So that's a nice moment. So yeah, well done to him. Thoughts about Saturday? Yeah, look, as I said before, I think we can go there with full of confidence and in a good position to in good state to get ourselves a good result. Just going back to the whole winger thing, I know Gary mentioned last season and obviously how well we did with Hudson-Odoi and Alanga, and I think if Aina was fit and firing, then I'd have no hesitation about playing 2 wingers in a game like this. I think it's more I think Savona, I think he's done well. I think he's still finding his feet a little bit, particularly defensively. But yeah, I think with assuming that Murillo comes back into the team, which I think will give us a big boost if he does, then we should be confident of getting a good result on Saturday. And then, as you say, next week Utrecht. I'm going to be in Utrecht and flying out to Amsterdam on the Thursday morning. So yeah, looking forward to seeing anybody who's going out there. Hopefully for a couple of beers. I haven't got a ticket for the game, but I'll be in the fan zone area in the town. So really looking forward to that. And then I think Tottenham game after that. I mean, I think we should be going into if we can get 4 points from the next 2 games, that would be a really, really good return, I think.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Murillo. If he does come back, Gary, it's stating the bloody obvious, but sometimes you have to do it. It would make such a difference, just defensively, but also on the ball. It would be a huge boost, wouldn't it?
Oh, massive boost. You know, he's one of those players who can transform an attacking move with a 50-yard pass to feet. He has that ability. Guy alongside him who, you know, does the easy thing, does the simple thing, does the thing you want, you know, a centre-half to do. But Murillo, you know, they're both dangerous in the opposition box as well, you know, from set pieces. You know, they've got goals. So, you know, you've got to watch out. I know Everton are strong, but so are we. The delivery is good. We saw that last night. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting team selection. And I'm going to Utrecht as well with the lads, the Thursday lot. So we're Eurostar in it. So yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Are you going to the game? You're not just in the town square, Gary, smashing chairs and trashing bars, are you?
And we're not. Yeah, there's only a couple of things you do in Amsterdam. You know, you go down the same road we went down in the semi-final of the European Cup when Pete Taylor fell into a strip joint, but before the semi-final.
Lovely.
You're going to be retracing your old steps then, Gary, yeah?
Yeah, it was just never like it. We were just gobsmacked. And of course, you know, the other story from that is when Brian Clough took the flag off, because they were waiting outside our hotel and they were very intimidating, because we always went for a walk after, you know, we'd had something to eat, and they were all out singing sick, and we got all the flags waving them in our faces. And Cloughy said to Robbo, he said, "John, give me a lighter." Pinched this flag off this Ajax fan, set it on fire, threw it on the floor, stamped on it, and then said, "Right, come on, we're going for a walk." And that just down, be quiet as a group. Only Clough, you couldn't do that now.
No, you certainly couldn't. No, you certainly couldn't. Just one last point. Gary mentioned it there. I should have said this about Everton. Mickey van der Ven and Malik Thiaw have both scored 2 goals at Everton from set pieces in recent games. So Milenkovic header. You're a betting man, Paul. You had a nice little win the other week. You know, lump a tenner on a Milenkovic header. I wouldn't bet against that.
Very, very rarely bet on anything, to be honest, or football in particular. But that game, the Malmo game, I guess it was just, I just had a feeling. But yes, Milenkovic header would be nice, wouldn't it, on Saturday?
Certainly would. Right. If you've enjoyed this one, do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're a member, this is pre-recorded to leave a gap between last night and today. So you'll get early access to this. Same on Patreon, so do consider that, or a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. We shall be back tomorrow, opposition preview from the Everton point of view, and then Saturday post-match show with Mark and I don't know, actually, someone else. So do join us for that. Paul, thank you very much. Is he frozen? Gary, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure as always.
It was. Are you back, Paul?
I am. Yeah. Sorry, did I disappear there for a second?
You disappeared for 30 seconds when I said, Paul, thank you very much.
The live Ashes feed that I've got on the background is competing for the Wi-Fi signal.
Well, there you go. Not to worry, because we're wrapping it up now, so all good. Do hit like, everyone. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.